Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Travis, your Chief Clarifier of Fuzziness at Lucid Pros OCN. Today we're going to be talking about social media profiles. Now, I have opened this up as a webinar to a lot of people in my close network, so we might have somebody popping on and off here as we go, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of these profiles. Speaking of which, we have one jumping on now, so thank you, Dennis. Looking forward to having you here. But we're going to be talking about social media profiles today. And as some of the people know, we started an article series on the Unemployment Survivor's Guide called, we started out with what to do with your finances first, what is health insurance and why is it necessary second, started with your personal brand after that, and then we moved on last week to your resume. This week we're talking about social media. And Dennis, thanks for joining us. Glad to see you today. We're going to be talking about a few things, and so as people hop on and hop off, I'll be just kind of referencing an article series that we're going
a move to try to quell violent protests in major cities.
How you doing?
Outnumbered overtime now. I'm Harris Faulkner. The president says he will
Dennis?
be deploying federal law
Hi.
enforcement.
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Thank you.
All right, perfect. So what we're going to, like I was just mentioning when you popped on, we're going to be talking about some things that has to do with social media profiles, why it's important. And we already talked a little bit in the series that I'm going through on personal brands. And the whole thing about personal brands is knowing or having a specific angle that you present yourself or why you're actually doing what you're doing. And we're going to be doing a lot of that with the social media profiles as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to go through some of these that have to do with just that, social media profiles. So let's look at LinkedIn for just a moment. I'm going to get some of these little things out of my way. And I'm going to start out with a friend of mine. His name is Butch Ewing. If anybody needs a good web developer or somebody that has some really good SEO knowledge or just wants to know a really good guy, here's Butch Ewing. He's a great guy for that. I want to start out with his LinkedIn profile because there is a difference between the different social media platforms. You have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, Snapchat, the list goes on and on and on. So why do we have these different platforms? Well, number one, LinkedIn is primarily your business, your professional platform. We use that to basically put out there what we want to have as a profile or as a brand, a personal brand for a professional image. People use different things like Instagram and Facebook for more personal use, right? So the way that we go through those or the purpose that those actually accomplish is going to be different in each case. Thanks for joining us, Nick. This one right here, I like this one because it's not too blah, right? And when I say blah, we're talking, this is a professional profile. The first thing you see when you see, and I'm going to have to pick on Thomas Swain. I don't know you, Thomas, but hopefully you'll hear this and you'll get something out of it. But we have no image and we have the standard LinkedIn background here. So you're really not doing much here to put yourself out there. And if you have the attorney at law office of Thomas Swain, that really tells me that you are a self-employed or a small business owner. What is going to separate you from your clientele? So just gonna step back just a moment and remind people, what is your personal brand? So Nick, thanks for joining us. When you think of personal brand, what do you think of?
Am I muted?
You're on, buddy.
Oh, sweet, awesome. So when I think of personal brand, that's pretty self-explanatory, honestly. I mean, it's your personal brand. Like it's you. It's the face you want the world to see, essentially. You know, and if the world isn't seeing the face that you want them to see, like what are they seeing exactly? You know what I mean? So I think probably the best thing to do personal brand wise is be consistent, be noticed, and yeah, essentially drive home what you want individuals to see about you, essentially.
Right.
Not to
So,
say it instantly twice in the same sentence, but I think you got it though.
yeah, no, I completely get where you're going from there. So when we're talking about branding specifically, there's a couple of references in the marketing world on what your personal brand or what a brand is. So you have a brand image and you have a brand identity. Your brand image is a snapshot of any given brand at any given point of time for the eye of the beholder. It's just like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So I'm sure everybody has an impression or a brand image of McDonald's. Now, there's some things that McDonald's can help with that, and there's some things that they can't. For example, they are promoting healthier environments. They're promoting a little bit better choices for kids. They're promoting inclusiveness, right? So they're promoting a lot of things to affect that their corporate brand. What they cannot do anything about is people that have an association where something happened at McDonald's. Maybe they were on a date and their boyfriend or girlfriend broke up with them there. Or they had a really bad experience. Maybe there was an armed robbery. Maybe they got a phone call saying that my mother just passed away or something along those lines, something that they have absolutely no control over. Well, that's still going to affect their brand image. But the brand identity are things that they can do to kind of steer you into where they want to be seen, right? Does that make more sense? So a lot of my background is on corporate branding. And so what we've done is there's such a pandemic going on right now, and there's 40+ million people that are unemployed because of this pandemic. So how do we help them get from unemployed to coming out the other side stronger? So in the series, the Unemployment Survivor's Guide, we really talk about, number one, getting everything in order right now. Finances, and Quincy Caldwell, thanks for joining on there. That's a great key for you, finances. If anybody needs some help on their finances, I highly recommend my friend Quincy here. He's a fantastic financial advisor. Also, your health insurance. Why health insurance? Why is that so important for the unemployed? Because health insurance are health expenses, medications, things like that, medical expenses are still the #1 cause of bankruptcy in the United States. It's not unemployment, it's not lacking a job, it's having expenses that far exceed your income. So that's why your health insurance, having it and understanding what you have are so important. Now we kind of switched gears a couple weeks ago to talk about your personal brand, and that's what we're talking about right now. Now, my background is really on developing corporate brands, but your personal brand is also very similar to that. And that's the reason why LinkedIn, that's the reason why Facebook, Instagram, anything that you're out there on, you already have a personal brand, and potential employers are going to see what you're putting out there, and they're going to take something out of that. They're going to make their mind up about who you are as a person and what you have to offer. It's more than just your resume. In fact, LinkedIn should not be your resume. If all you have on LinkedIn is your resume, then you are missing out. This is your opportunity to show what you're all about. Show what additional benefits that you can offer, value add to any particular organization. If you're going out there for a sales role or a marketing role, show how you can influence others. Show how you want to engage. Show how that personal selling point is going to help. If you're going after an engineering degree, show some education. Educate people on some of the more specific focuses that you've had in the past. If you're a financial advisor, give us a little bit of taste of some of the things that you have to offer. That way, when somebody goes to try it to do themselves, if it's a little too much for them, well, they know this person literally wrote the book on what I'm trying to do right now. I'm going to go contact them. That's generating your own expertise in this area. Now, you might have it, but how do you communicate that to others is your personal brand. And that's really what we're talking about today on social media profiles. Like, as I was mentioning previously, you have LinkedIn is your professional profile. Many of us are either independent contractors, small business owners, things like that. So you can also have a company page on top of that. And if you ever want to create a company page, it's actually pretty easy. You go over here to work, and you scroll down here to create company page. You click on that, you go through the steps, and you have one. Now, I already have a company. It's called the Lucid Pros OCN. So let's just kind of take a look at what that company page looks like real quick. And we'll view it as a member, so it's a little easier to see. There's a lot of differences and more functionality that you can include with a company page that you can't do with an individual or a personal page. And so that's why I want to get into this a little bit. So we'll start out here as the companies, then we'll work into your personal profiles, and then we're going to go over some of your more personal channels. Because like I mentioned already, LinkedIn is your more professional site. This is where you're really putting out there your professional viewpoints, what you have to offer, and things like that. So as you can see here, you still have the option to set your own background image, and I highly, highly recommend doing that, and also your personal profile headshot. These two things are really going to make you stand out versus something like this, which anybody and everybody can actually generate. So we don't want to have that as much as possible. You want to have that ability to generate your own individual content as much as possible, and you want to drive what you're all about. So we talk about what the company's about, and then it starts going into some of the hashtags you follow, goes into some of your recently posted videos. This right here is a health insurance video that I did as an introduction to that one. Here's some other posts that we've had lately, some images. This is links back to health insurance options and things like that. So definitely want to be consistent with A, what you're trying to promote as yourself, and B, what you have as your own personal image, right? So sometimes I'm a little bit more casual, sometimes I'm a little bit more formal, but it all depends on what you're trying to do and who you're trying to promote. What part of your network? How are you intertwining them? How are you giving value to other people that's helping spread your brand and your image on top of that? Here's an example of my BNI network. BNI is Business Networking International. I'm on the leadership team there, loving every minute of it. In fact, Quincy, thank you for joining us. He's here from there as well. But this is a home buyer webinar that we put on as a group. Now, I got to use a little bit of my marketing background to help them put together some flyers and even help Brandon out a little bit on the actual webinar itself. But these are things that we can do as a group that you might not be able to do as an individual. So these are just some of the things that you can do. All these types of posts are very similar to what somebody can find if they go to your profile and look at your actual history and everything else. This is where it changes. After your home tab, you can go to the About tab, and the About is your chance to really talk about who you are, throw out websites, throw out phone numbers, and actually establish yourself as a business. Jobs or anything that you post, if you're going to hire people, highlights the different people in your organization. You can even do partners here. Right now, I am a solopreneur, which means I am the only employee, but I am actually working on some partnerships right now. Insights and ads, those are things that you can actually see what's happening within your own profile. Okay, so that's enough about business. Let's get back to your personal profiles. Personal profiles, I was mentioning, here's my friend Butch. Butch is your new best friend, and if you need any type of IT help, like I mentioned before about him, fantastic. He's revolutionary with some of the things he's doing from website perspective, especially if you're looking for something low cost and very simple. You don't always have to figure out things on your own. This is something that he can help you out with quite a bit. So Bruce and Eddie is his company, but like he says, right here, we have your personal profile and we have your company profile, same way we just went through with me. So whenever you look at things like this, you can see some of their activities. And here it talks about your web consultants. And that's exactly what I was talking about before. He's also a musician. He's a freelance bass player. I've seen him. He's pretty funky. So anybody who says white boys can't get funky, I'll say check him out as well. But in the meantime, this is more than just a resume. You're actually selling the concept, putting out there in a messaging perspective what you're trying to communicate on behalf of you and your company. Within each of these areas of experience, you can actually plug the company and some of the skill sets that you have and some of the really successes that you've had within that group. All right, making sense so far? No. I'm just going to assume yes. Don't hear anybody.
Crystal.
Don't see anything else. Nikki, you good?
Yeah. Oh yeah. All gravy over here, man.
All right. So when it comes to what I was saying about your brand image and the brand identity and the kind of the difference from that, the brand identity is where you yourself are trying to guide other people to see you, and the brand image is how somebody sees you at any given point in time. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Quincy. Are there any questions so far?
So yeah, I got a question. Quick
Yes, sir,
question.
Quincy.
So with to me, and help me, I'm a novice, but to me, it seems like your company and your personal brand, they're intertwined. Can
You
you
can
have
actually
a
separate
good
them a little bit. See,
Yeah.
there's more to you than there is to your company, because you're going to have some things that you're passionate about from a personal perspective. You're going to have some things that you're really trying to work on through the community, and sometimes you're going to have your company that's going to want kind of the credit or the association for that. So you can really, by having your personal page and your company page, you can actually get them to intertwine. But you can have some that have some focus and some that have another. Think of the Venn diagram, and where those two overlap, you really have to have those core competencies. But you can have some things where your professional brand or your company brand kind of focuses on where you personally don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, so it gives you a little bit more freedom and flexibility. Most of the independent contractors or solopreneurs that I know, they don't like having the extra company page because they feel like it's a little bit extra work to keep up with, and so they want to kind of keep everything consolidated. And that's okay too. It just depends on your own personal ability and where you're trying to go with your company versus where you're trying to go with your own professional career. So I'm going to take somebody who I met here recently. Her name's Jen Ferguson. I really like the way she promotes herself, so I'm going to kind of show her profile here as well. This is something new to LinkedIn. They give this open to work banner. It's more of a frame for your professional headshot, and it shows that you're. It kind of gives you a little bit more. It's like putting a. Oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time here. I'll get over it. Neon light around what you're trying to do. You're open to work. This makes it really clear for everybody to see, hey, I'm really looking, I'm open to talk. It doesn't mean that you're going to jump at the first thing available. It means that you want to open those communications a little bit more. I like what she's showing here in her chosen background image, because she's not only throwing out there a concept, but she's also throwing out there a lot of diversity in the people that she's working with as well. Now, her tagline is something that I really love, and this is why I connected with her directly: bringing heart and humanity to sales. If anybody knows me and what I stand for, my hashtag is here to help. And I can't tell you how much time I've actually spent lately just working and walking people through things that will have absolutely no direct effect on me. It's only because I'm trying to build other people up, and I've been in a lot of the challenging situations that they're walking through right now, and I don't want them to have to go through that same darkness and same uncertainty. And that's why I put together this entire program for the Unemployed Survivor's Guide to begin with. And before you guys ask, why is it the Unemployed Survivor's Guide and not the Survival Guide, is because survival means you just barely make it through, and a survivor comes out stronger. That's why it's called the Unemployment Survivor's Guide. Let's figure out how to come out stronger on the other side. So I'm going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to bring you to one guy's profile because he's mentioned in this particular one. His name is Matt Gain. And Matt and I did a podcast a little while back. He's actually only my second ever podcast. And so he was very gracious to do that with me, and he was very patient with me when it came to a lot of what's happening there. This gentleman says 500 plus connections. He's actually maxed out at 30,000 connections and's got over 100,000 followers. What do these images really say to you? So I'm going to pick on Nicholas. Nick, what do you think? What is his background image and his headshot? What do those say to you?
His background image says he's passionate about what he does, and his headshot says that he's also casual and approachable.
And approachable, yes, absolutely. So these are very well done, even though they're not overly formal. So I want to really get in, put that point across to where you're actually trying to promote your personal brand, not what you think other people are wanting. Now, within the article about developing your personal brand, there's a huge section from Matt that was in there about, don't give a crap what everybody else thinks. Don't set up your own personal values, your professional values. Don't think about who do I want to be based on the lens of what everybody else thinks you need to be. Throw out all that aside and sit down and actually develop your own brand, your own values, and start building around that. What do you want to do? Where are your skill sets? Where are your values? Where are your differentiators? What makes you so unique, and what gives value to other people? Why were you created? What is your purpose? Everybody has unique gifts and talents. How do we optimize them to where we're actually putting them forward to where it's going to add value to other people? Now, he even says, don't even be scared to let somebody think that you're batshit crazy, and that is a direct quote. Because one of the main things about branding is if you actually alienate half of your audience, most people are scared, but that by alienating this half of the audience, you're going to have a much smaller audience to talk to, and you're not going to be as successful. But the truth is, if you try to hit a very wide audience and you cast a huge wide net, you're not going to be very successful in anything, because you're not hitting people where they hurt. You're not hitting people where they need to go. You really need to make an impact. How are you going to do that? And how are you going to set your own unique skills and talents aside? How are you going to set yourself apart from the other 46 million people right now that are looking for the same dang jobs here on LinkedIn, on Indeed, or on any other workplace area? This is why personal brands is so important. This is why your social media profile is so important. By putting something together that's showing who you are, I'm passionate and I'm approachable at the same time, well, hey, guess what? That means that if an employer is looking through your resume and they see some of the things that they really want to hit on there, great. They're going to check out your profile. What are they going to see there? If you're extremely political on Facebook or on Instagram, or if you're throwing stuff out there about drinking and driving, or just crazy stuff, you are going to do so much damage to your personal brand and to your potential chances of getting hired on, because you're not adding value to their organization. How are you promoting yourself that's adding value? Now, within LinkedIn, and I'm spending a lot of time on LinkedIn, but that's really where most of my professional experience lies. I want to just encourage people to go ahead and take a professional headshot whenever possible. They're really not that expensive. And setting, this is Brittany Linhart. She's also another one of my podcast hosts. She is the culture consultant, and she has a really strong cultural focused HR mind, setting the right setting in place. She's setting the right setting, the foundation, for everybody to be more consistent and more have a higher chance to succeed here. Now, she has, like I do, some of her videos are a little bit more casual, but if you're going to see one of her videos, and let's see if there's something here real quick that's showing. This is a great post, by the way, toxic management. Some of her videos are a little bit more casual. If you compare that to this profile picture, you can see that this is going to attract a lot more of her target audience, which is executive leaders within Fortune 1000 companies or even small businesses. It's going to get more interest than somebody that might be sitting around in a t-shirt with the hair up in a bun. So make sure that you're really putting out there that image that goes around your personal brand. Now, this is actually the post that we're talking about today, which is part 5, updating your social media profiles. This is me. This is my professional headshot. The one I use on Facebook is very different. The one I use on Facebook here, and I have a lot of things open, I apologize for that, is showing, hey, I'm a person. This is a little bit more about what I'm about. So my Facebook has a little bit more about me, not just my professional stuff. So it's talked about family, friends, faith, customers, and anyone in need. And that's really where my hashtag comes from. But this is still supporting my personal brand. It's just giving a little bit more insight. And I think, Quincy, to your earlier question, this kind of helps differentiate the Lucid Pros organization, which is my company, from me as a person, right? So those types of things really help out there. And over here, kind of list just some of the things that I'm really passionate about from either a volunteer or a professional standpoint. I don't get paid for my podcasts yet. Sponsors are, I'm open. But I don't get paid for being a youth sports coach. I don't get paid for being a mentor and a volunteer. But these are some things that I'm really passionate about. I have a lot to offer, and I want to tie that into people. So I make sure that those are available to them. But lately, my focus is on health insurance. There's a lot of people who need that help, right? So that's why it's top of the list. Everything else kind of comes into the fold of what makes me unique from a personal or from a professional brand. And this brings in the personal brand. And so everything together kind of creates, you get a better idea of who I am as a person. So if I apply for a job, somebody can actually come into my Facebook, somebody can go over to my LinkedIn, they're going to check these channels, and they're going to hear more about my message, more about what I'm trying to educate, promote, help. They're going to notice that I'm not just selling. This is not real estate. It's not about location. It's a little bit more diverse to that. I'm a huge advocate for balancing posts. You want to tie in, yeah, I want people to know what I do for a living and why and what I sell or what I provide, right? Products and services. But I also want people to know why I do that. What is my motivation behind what I do? I also want people to know that I have a passion for helping people. And so my hashtag here to help is really telling people, hey, I'm not going to sell you. I want to help you. And there's a huge difference there. So hopefully I'm getting that across, because that is the brand identity that I'm pushing, but it's not always the brand image that somebody else might have of me. And I'm trying to align those two, and social media profiles is one of those ways to do it. So make sure that you do something with your profile picture and your background image whenever possible. And these, I actually created this using PowerPoint. There's 3 different images here with some text boxes over the top. It's really not that hard to do. I can do a little training on that later if anybody wants to know. But these custom background images can be very helpful and very important. I did the same thing here. It's very similar. Go to my profile real quick. Standard one, and as soon as it loads, it will upload this one. See, very simple, same type of thing. Professional headshot, because it's LinkedIn. It's where I want my professional stuff to be, and it has a little bit more about the professional things that I do, not my volunteer efforts and not my personal passions, right? So it's catering to a different audience. Facebook is where I engage with a lot of friends, family, and potential clients. LinkedIn, it's really not a professional, it's really not a personal place. It's a professional place. So I don't include a lot of that. And it really matters how you promote, what messages that you're giving out on each of these. All right. So I planned on talking for about 30 minutes. I think I've about done that now. I'm going to open it back up to any questions. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, so I guess, Travis, for the people that's on the line.
Can you speak up just a little bit more for me, Quincy? I can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can.
Yeah, so for the people that's on the line, what would you say probably the top 2 or 3 most important things for them to do as kind of implementation from this webinar?
So from these, the particular people that are on the line right now are not job seekers at the moment. I know Dennis and Nicholas and you, Quincy, as well. And this was an impromptu, so I didn't expect a whole lot of people to get on today. But from the people that are here, we're basically promoting our businesses and our professional lives. We're not seeking a job. So I'm going to get to you guys in just a second. I will say, the intention of the article series is more about helping people who are trying to seek out a job. Number one, make sure you have at least a semi-professional picture up so it doesn't look like you're just hanging out on a Saturday afternoon. You're going to promote yourself as you would if you're going to an office place or your point of work. This is your professional profile pic. Also, find a background image. It doesn't have to be something you create yourself, but definitely upload it that has something to do with either your personal brand or the industry that you're seeking out. So make sure you're customizing things like that a little bit more. And the number three, and probably the most important, is this is not your resume. Your LinkedIn profile is not your resume, and I see that way, way too often. You provide your resume to a potential employer, and some people actually post their resumes on their LinkedIn page, and I highly recommend against that as well. I'll start there. Number one, if you post your resume on your LinkedIn profile, then anybody who's just checking you out, they have no need to call you now. You need to save something for a second date. You want a phone call. You want to use your profile to engage more or incite more engagement from the particular or potential employer. When it comes to actually putting your resume information in here as your different places, I recommend against that as well. This is your opportunity to show why you do what you do and some of the things that you're really successful at. It's also still promoting your personal brand. Your resume is a little bit different. We talked about resume last week. There's a good article on that, creating your resume. And that's really focusing on where's your education, where is, who are you as a professional worker? Have you been successful in your roles? Forget about just putting in there your responsibility in your roles. Show some successes. Show some successes here as well. Okay. And so make sure you're promoting both you and your client, your company here with all these different roles and responsibilities. As you can see, between 2001 and 2017, I stayed at two places. Between 2017, it's been a little bit more fluctuation for me because I was still trying to find out what makes sense and where I really fit. I think we have it now. So I'm really excited about what we're doing. You can create your own featured articles here, but when it comes to the people on this call, make sure you're promoting what you're doing and how you're doing it so your potential clients understand that. As I mentioned previously, it's not a resume. Don't treat it like a resume. Definitely for the people on this call, don't treat it like a resume. Treat it as if you're trying to give some insight about why somebody should want to work with you. A couple of people on this call are health insurance advisors. So if you're a health advisor, you want to generate a trustworthy brand online. So if somebody's talking to you on the phone, they've never heard of you before, this gives them a place to basically qualify who you are as a person. And for you as well, Quincy, as a financial advisor, this is a way for you to kind of show a little bit more about who you are as a financial advisor and what kind of benefits and value add you can provide to clients. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question, Quincy?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Hey, Travis.
Yeah.
Travis, this is Dennis.
Hey, Dennis.
I don't have a question at the moment. I just have a couple of comments to make.
Sure.
First of all, your presentation was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
You did a very good job, very professional, and I really appreciated it. And I've been struggling a little bit lately, and the stuff that you talked about today has highly motivated me, and I'm going to be bugging you quite a bit, so get prepared, okay?
Here to help.
I'll appreciate all the help I can get from you.
Here to help, buddy. In fact, everybody who's on this call, and Quincy, everybody on our BNI network, I highly recommend that article on building your personal brand. That will get you your 30, 60-second commercial in a nutshell and really help you to set yourself apart from competition and really make a good positive impact on your potential clients. All right?
Great.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Travis.
Oh,
Thanks, Travis.
Who else was on?
This is Deborah.
Hey, Deborah, I didn't see you there. Thank you. Any questions from you?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, great. Nick, last call?
Nope, I'm all gravy, bro. Thank you very
Alright,
much for
cool.
sharing some insight, man.
Absolutely, and if anybody wants, I'm going to post this out on LinkedIn as a webinar, and in the comments, I'm going to put a couple of links to where you can get professional images that are license free that you can actually use as your background if you want, if you do so choose, and you can search different things there. Just a couple of marketing tips and tricks from my 20 years of experience there. All right.
Great.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us, guys. And as mentioned, I'm here to help. So if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll see how we can do.
Okay.
Rock and roll.
All right, that works.
All right,
Thanks,
have a good
man.
one. Bye.
All right,
All
bye-bye.
right. Thanks, guys.
Mm.
Sharing. Dennis, my time is running out in about 5 minutes because I have the free version.